Hello, Stephen White, Steve Arts 89. Well, I finally watched the first episode of The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance. It was quite a wait. In Australia, it didn't show until 6 p.m. in the evening. I thought it was going to come up in the AM, basically. So I had pretty much an extra day to wait. I read the creation myths and just had a look at some of my stuff on the Dark Crystal and that, just to tide over a bit. And unfortunately, about an hour before it premiered, I had a migraine, which I get the kind that get the auras, and I delay down for a couple of hours. So I didn't even watch it till nearly 8, about 7:45 in Australia. So I've just watched the first episode. It's good. It's beautiful. It is true to the look and the style and the feel of the first movie. It is a complicated and dense universe of creatures and everything that we loved about the first movie, the movie. And I'm not disappointed. I am a little surprised at the amount of CGI, because that was the only concern people had with it. Would it be all puppetry and practical sets and elements and miniatures, or would it, like the original film, or would it be more CGI? They seem to do a bit of a split where pretty much all the scenes with the characters are all puppets, and it's all puppetry, and they're all in sets. And then you have your sort of outdoor scenes where they've created the environments from CGI, and you can tell they're CGI, and it's unsure if there are real elements moving through the CGI or if they're just the whole scenes are CGI. But I do kind of feel the difference between the CGI scenes and the practical scenes, although there are other scenes where you can't sort of tell. You'll see the girlflings or the Skeksis within it, and you're sort of looking at it thinking, okay, part of this is built pieces and puppetry and extended set extensions and stuff like that. And there's a few shots that are obviously whole shots, like when they've got this carriage, which is basically 4 creatures working as wheels, carrying a carriage full of Skeksis across the land. And you see the land, it's very obviously CGI, but the rest of it looks like practical sets they've made, and they've built the carriage. So it's kind of interesting. It doesn't totally put you out, because when you watch the original, you're aware of the matte shots, you're aware of the tricks that they did with that film, which are all live action in camera sort of or retroscoped sort of blue screen sort of effects. So you're sort of aware of the artifice of the original, and you sort of are aware of this, but it's in a different way. It's not through small flaws like the original. You could see matte lines and stuff like that. This, it's more just an awareness, and there is a lot of movement and a lot of camera moves and angles which probably couldn't be done with actual camera work and practical elements. So you kind of know you're watching CGI, and you can't quite tell where it starts and where it stops. So it kind of blends. But so that was the only concern some people had, and the criticism that people were having. It seemed to be the only criticism. Well, some people were saying it kind of didn't need to be made. It's pointless. It's not needed. But I mean, if you love the Dark Crystal and you love the show and that world, you're happy to go back, and there is a story to tell before the movie, and you can tell that story within those frameworks without affecting the movie, which is what a lot of series do with prequels. They know that as long as they stay within sort of the bounds, they can tell a story and have a whole element or area to sort of play in. So that works. I don't think there was anything wrong with doing the series. I think it's great to go back into that world and see it. I kind of missed Jen and Kira. I knew they weren't going to be in it because it's before their time, but I kind of missed them. I kind of wanted them back. The new characters obviously haven't grown on us yet, and they're not going to be the same, because they can't be the same, because those characters, they were new. They didn't know anything about the world that they were going into, that they were discovering, that they were dealing with. And with this, obviously, we're in a society. We're in their the kingdom. So there wasn't going to be that innocence. and we were learning with the Gelflings in the movie, so we sort of know enough now that we can go into the world. We don't need to sort of have that. So, but I think that's an element of the original film that I think I'm missing, and we're going to miss, because we're not starting off this journey with them. We're already sort of on that. We already know what's happening, so it's a slightly different feel. But there are characters like Deet, who has been living underground her whole life. She's never doesn't even know what stars are. So she I don't want to go too much into the story, but basically the Skeksis have been feeding off the crystal, and that stopped giving them energy. So they've found a way to reverse it and take energy from Gelflings, which is something we saw in the movie, but they've just discovered it. And we're introduced to two characters. They have a romantic sort of involvement, but it's fairly innocent still. Basically, they take her essence, they absorb her, basically. The crystal absorbs her, and he basically is now running because they've seen him, see them do that. So obviously there's going to be a push to expose the Skeksis for what they are. And if you know the Dark Crystal, you know how it all ends. But it was kind of surprising because we never saw how far, I guess, the draining of the essence went. I kind of thought, if I remember correctly, that the Gelflings would die from it, but I didn't realise they could be actually absorbed. Sorry, I've got a really dry throat at the moment. So yeah, I've enjoyed it. It's amazing to go back into this world, and they have managed to recreate it and expand it, and it is quite beautiful and interesting. And there is an element of artifice in the CGI, but it's really no more than what the traditional visual effects had in the original. I would have liked a little bit more feeling of practical sets and real locations, like in the original film. But I don't know if that's a budgetary thing or just not the way we do things anymore, because we don't have to go out and film and transform real environments to look like a world like Thra, like they did in the original. They can just stay on sets and use CGI, so I guess that's just how they're going to do it. I don't think it really takes away. It's just originally they'll sort of say, it's all puppetry, because I think there was that anxiety with the old school fans that it was going to be all CGI and it was going to look like a cartoon. It doesn't look like a cartoon. It does feel real to a certain element, but it does feel augmented, extended, but still those elements are beautiful and interesting, and for the most part you're not aware of it. But I don't think they've 100% managed to blend it. You still sort of have these moments of feeling like you're looking at CGI, but the transition into them is fairly smooth, so it's kind of interesting. I tried not to be, I wasn't that conscious of it, but that's the only criticism. And basically, yes, Deet has left the underground. Ryan is running. Ryan, can't pronounce his name. And I'm kind of curious where the series is going to go, how far they're going to go into exposing the Skeksis. I guess they're going to have the resistance and the war, and where we know how it ends, but how far are they going to go in it in this one season? Is it going to be a limited event series, or are they going to leave it open for a second season, third season? Because I think they're referring it to as a season. So, but either way, I finally watched it. It's finally came. All these years of sort of wanting more. Like, I grew up with just the storybook, and then I saw the film on TV, and I saw the film later as a child. Later on, I saw it on DVD, and I sort of always wanted more when I didn't have the film. Then I got the film, and I still wanted more. So we've finally gotten more of the Dark Crystal, and it's beautiful and it's interesting, and it pretty much holds up. It sort of has the same flaws as the original. The original couldn't totally create that universe because it had to rely on special effects, which you're sort of aware of, and the same with this one. You're sort of aware of the CGI, but for the most part, you're taken into the characters and puppetry, and the humanity of the puppets, the real worldness of the puppets does work. So I'm just going to leave it there. I'm not going to get into any of the real story elements, because obviously first episode they haven't gone too far into it, and I've got another season, and I'm going to spread it out. I'm not going to watch it all in one giant session. I'm probably going to watch one, maybe two more episodes and have a break. I've got a friend in town. I kind of want to try and catch up with him. And I don't want to get overwhelmed by it. Sometimes when you binge a series, I find I kind of get overwhelmed and it all blends into one and I don't really remember everything. So I want to take a bit more time and I'll spread it over 2 or 3 days, I think. But I hope everyone else is enjoying it. I've gotten onto the Facebook fan pages and been talking to people, and everyone's really excited. And it's a nice moment to have the Dark Crystal back. But I'm going to go now, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. And I'll probably do another video at the end of the series, looking at the holes and overall, just for the fun of it. I'm sure everyone's doing videos now. Talking about it already. I think people are going to look at the series as a whole. Some people may look at every episode separately. I'm not sure. I'm just going to do the series because we're viewing it as one giant movie, one big episode. So that's how I'm going to look at it. Okay, thanks. Bye.